Hello there. Welcome to the 26th video in learning everything we can learn from VisionOS Documentation. Here, we're going into information about the simulator. We have 5 more videos, excluding this one, so a total of 6 more videos, and that will be all of VisionOS Documentation. Let's dig into this article. Running your app in a simulator or on a device. Launch your app in a simulated iOS, tvOS, watchOS, or visionOS device, or on a device connected to a Mac. To test your app, build and run it on a simulated or real device. Use simulated devices to debug your app on a variety of hardware to which you don't have immediate access. The trade-off is that simulated devices run within the simulator app on your Mac and don't replicate the performance or features of an actual device. To verify your app runs exactly as intended, run it on one or more real devices. You can connect a real device to your Mac using a cable, or for iOS, tvOS, or VisionOS apps, connect it over Wi-Fi after you pair it with Xcode. Swift UI previews lets you see your app interface without building and running your app. For more information on these dynamic previews, see previews in Xcode. Select a build schema and run destination. Before you build and run your app, select the build schema that includes the target for your app. A schema is a collection of project details and settings that tell Xcode how to build and run a product from your project. Xcode determines where the resulting product can run based on the schema you've selected, and populate the Run Destination menu in the toolbar with the list of available devices. For example, if the schema contains a tvOS app, Xcode includes only tvOS simulators and devices as potential run destinations. To learn more about schemas, see Customizing the build schema for a project. When running apps in simulator, some hardware-specific features might not be available. Frameworks that provide access to device-specific features as also provide API to tell you when those features are available. Call those APIs and handle the cases where a feature isn't available. To test the feature itself, run your code on a real device. Let's take a look at the schemas and run destinations. Here, in the top bar, we see that we have several schemas. We have, well, two to be exact. We have world assets and world. Let's take a look at this schema, what it entails. In the schema, we have quite a few options. We have build configurations, debug and release. We have our executable, world app, and fields in here, Siri intent queries, and LLDB init files. We have several arguments. We have several options here with core locations, app data, routing app, coverage files, StoreKit, GPU frame captures, app language, regions, XPC service, view debugging, queue debugging, and console. This is where we'll get our information and how we can interact with the app. Here we have diagnostics, but we don't have anything about where this target will run. To do that, we'll have to look into the World app. If you click into the World app, you'll see that the particular build setting that we have selected is for VisionOS. And that's how it's selected. Let's take a look at that run destination. It's right across from the schema that we've selected, which is World. Based on this particular schema, we can select the run destination Apple Vision Pro. Configure the list of simulated devices. Manage real and simulated devices in the Devices and Simulator window in Xcode. To view this window, choose Window, Device Simulators, View and Configure Simulated Devices from the Simulators tab. Now let's click the Windows tab. Scroll down to Devices and Simulators. Here we have one device that we are connected to, and we have many simulators. To add a new simulated device, click the plus button at the bottom of the list of simulators and specify the configurations you want. You can add new simulators to specify a different device type or operating system version than the default set. To remove a simulator from the list, select it and press delete. Xcode requires the simulator runtime for each platform and system version for which you build and run simulator. If Xcode doesn't display device types for a platform, you might need to install that platform simulator runtime. For more information on this installation, see Installing and Managing Simulator Runtimes. Here we have the plus button near the filter. Alright, here we can create a brand new simulator. Let's create a 6S type device. Oh, we could not create one because we do not have that runtime. Let's create something more recent. Maybe we can do that at least. Let's try the 14 Pro Max. Let's create it. All right, great. We have created the 14 Pro Max. And we can delete it by hitting the right-clicking and deleting. And that's it. Connect real devices to your Mac. To view and manage connections to your real devices, choose the Device tab in the Devices and Similar window in Xcode. Devices tab show the currently connected and disconnected devices and can help you diagnose problems that might occur. For example, Xcode might show a device as unavailable if it's not running an operating system version your app supports. It also shows new devices available for pairing with your Xcode installation. Pair a device with Xcode to include them in the list of run destinations for your project. To pair a device with a physical connection, connect the device to your Mac using an appropriate cable. Unlock the device and follow any instructions that appear in Xcode or on the device. To pair Apple Vision Pro or Apple TV without a physical connection, ensure that both Mac and the device are connected on the same Wi-Fi network. The Wi-Fi must be compatible with Bonjour. Broadcast the device to target Mac over the local network. To do this, for a VisionOS device, choose Settings, General, Remote Device, and for TV OS devices, choose Setting, Remote Devices, and Remote App and Devices. 3. Select the device from the list in the Devices Simulators window in Xcode and click the Pair button that triggers a code to appear on the target device. Enter the code on the Mac to complete the pairing process. Sounds very much similar to your Apple keyboard. After pairing is completed, the device shows up under Connected Device in Devices and Simulators window in Xcode. You don't need to keep a paired device physically connected to your Mac to install and run apps. If your device is connected to Wi-Fi on the same network as your Mac, Xcode can use that connection to install and run your app. To pair an Apple Watch to a Mac, connect its compatible iPhone to the Mac with a cable and ensure that the iPhone is paired for development. After this step, follow any instructions on the Apple Watch to trust the Mac. When paired through an iPhone running iOS 17 or later, Xcode connects to the Apple Watch over Wi-Fi. Series 5 and older models of Apple Watch additionally require the Apple Watch and Mac to be associated with the same Bonjour-capable Wi-Fi network. When paired through an iPhone running through older versions of iOS, Xcode requires the iPhone to remain connected to the Mac in order to develop any model of Apple Watch. Before installing your app, perform a few additional steps. Specify your Apple ID in the account preferences in Xcode. Specify the valid team in your project signing capabilities panel. Code assign your Mac OS app if it includes capabilities that require co-signing. See Add Capabilities to your app. Register a device with your team if you belong to the Apple Developers Program. And enable developer mode on the iOS, watchOS, or the VisionOS device as described in enabling developer mode on device. You don't need to configure a Mac device to run on your Mac apps. Similarly, to run Mac OS versions of an iPad app, choose My Mac. The Mac runs Xcode as the device. Alright, here is our Devices tab in the Device and Simulators window. Here I have my iPad Pro 12.9-inch third generation connected to this device, and it is not connected currently. And to connect it, we'll have to go through the steps as necessary. Now, I don't have a VisionOS or a tvOS application, but you can click Next and you can select another device. Well, there are no devices here because I don't have a VisionOS device nor a tvOS device for us to connect. Now, to finish off this tutorial here, we have to go to our Worlds app and go into our settings for target our world and signing in capabilities. Select your team, build identifier, and have a signing for this particular app to build your app. Run the app. Click the Run button in the toolbar or choose Product Run to build and run the app on the selected simulator or real device. View the status of the build in the Activities area of the toolbar. If the build is successful, Xcode runs the app and opens a debugging session in the debug area. Use the controls in the debug area to step through your code and inspect variables and interact with the debugger. If your build is unsuccessful, click the indicators in the activity area to read the error and warning messages in the Issues Navigator. Alternatively, click View Navigators, Show Issue Navigators to view the message. When you're done testing the app, click the Stop button in the toolbar. Everybody, let's click the Run button. It is at the top left corner. And here is the Stop button right next to it. Here's our build indicator. Here are all the warnings that we are looking at. And it's telling us to update to these settings. Well, let's perform the changes and continue. That way we remove some of these warnings. As this completely builds, we will have our app up and running and we will be a-okay. Earlier we had an issue and this is our navigators panel. The fifth tab is our Issues Navigator. Here we can view the messages. And our app is up and running. See? Now it runs very well, and here's our debug area. We can stop the app by hitting the stop button. Interact with the simulated environment. If you choose a simulated device as the run destination, simulator launches and displays a window that corresponds to the simulated environment. For some devices, simulator surrounds the screen content with a shell that resembles the target device. In VisionOS, it displays a synthetic space to mimic the experience someone would have when they wear the device. Each device, shell, and space has specific controls to support interactions. For device-specific details, see the reference on interactions. Here are 4 links to interact with our iOS and iPadOS simulator, tvOS simulator, watchOS simulator, and VisionOS simulator. And with that, we have reached the end of this article, and I am looking forward to reading the next one.